It's a red hot day here in Yorkshire. I've got my Hawaiian shirt and I'm out in the garden, surrounded by bees and butterflies, trying to keep cool. How did the residents of Haworth keep cool in the 19th century? How did Anne Bronte, Charlotte Brontë, and Emily Bronte survive a Yorkshire heatwave? We're going to look at that today. We're going to see extracts from Bronte letters and Bronte novels. So join me, Nick Holland, Bronte biographer, here on a hot, sunny day in the House of Bronte. The windswept moors surrounding Haworth are more usually associated with mist, rain, and winter storms. But the Brontes knew hot summers too, and sunshine, heat, and the pleasures of a summer landscape found their way into their novels. Perhaps one of the most memorable examples comes in Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. Jane has fled Thornfield after discovering that Rochester is already married, and yet had attempted to marry her. Alone on the moors on a scorching morning, Jane looks around her and declares, "What a still, hot, perfect day! What a golden desert this spreading moor! Everywhere sunshine!" Jane watches a lizard running across the rocks and a bee busy among the bilberries. For a moment she wishes that she too could become a bee or a lizard, finding food and shelter in the landscape around her. The heath in this part of Jane Eyre was modelled on the Peak District moors near Haversige, Morton in the novel, but as Charlotte described this glorious summer landscape, she must surely also have remembered the moors around Haworth, which she had walked across so many times with her sisters. And if Charlotte gives us a beautiful picture of a hot summer's day, Emily Bronte gives us an even more revealing one. In Wuthering Heights, Linton Heathcliff describes his idea of the perfect July day. He would lie from morning until evening on a bank of heather in the middle of the moors, with bees humming amongst the flowers, larks singing overhead, and a blue sky and bright sun shining steadily above him. That, he says, is his perfect idea of heaven. Cathy's heaven is very different. She wants wind, she wants green trees rustling, white clouds racing across the sky, birds singing on every side, cool valleys in the distance, and great expanses of long grass moving in waves beneath the breeze. She wants the whole landscape to be alive. As Cathy puts it, she wants everything to sparkle and dance in a glorious jubilee. Linton says her heaven would be like being drunk. Cathy says she would fall asleep in his. Eventually they kissed and made up and agreed to try both. There are autobiographical elements throughout the Bronte novels, but this passage may be one of the moments in Wuthering Heights when we come closest to Emily herself. Cathy's delight in a wild landscape filled with movement and life seems very much in keeping with what we know of Emily's own love of the moors. After Emily's death, Charlotte wrote movingly, "My sister Emily had a particular love for them." Charlotte said that every knoll of heather, branch of fern, young bilberry leaf and fluttering lark or linnet reminded her of the sister she had lost. Anne Bronte gives us another solution to summer heat in The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, and this one is extremely practical. Find some shade. Gilbert Markham and Helen Graham are enjoying an excursion beside the sea when a cool, reviving breeze blows in from the water. The party's meal is laid out on an elevated spot overlooking the sea, protected from the hot sun by a shelving rock and overhanging trees. Anne describes the sea breeze as soft, pure, salubrious. Helen feels its exhilarating effect, and Gilbert certainly notices the effect it has upon Helen. It is a beautifully sensual little summer scene, but shade and a cooling breeze were more important to the Brontes than they are to us, because keeping cool in the 1840s wasn't quite as straightforward as it is today. There was no electric fan humming in the corner of Haworth Parsonage. There was certainly no air conditioning. Cooking and heating water required fire, while after sunset, artificial light meant candles and lamps, bringing yet more flames and more heat into the house. And 19th century conventions concerning dress meant that respectable Victorian ladies could hardly respond to soaring temperatures by shedding layers of clothing. Charlotte, Emily and Anne did, however, have one unusual advantage. The Bronte sisters habitually wore silk. Patrick Bronte had a deep fear of his daughter's voluminous dresses catching fire. Silk, therefore, had an important advantage, but it is also a relatively light and cool material, which must have been welcome when summer temperatures rose. The Brontes also had two more traditional weapons against the summer sun: fans and parasols. The Bronte Parsonage Museum has examples of both amongst its collections. It's easy to imagine Charlotte, Emily, or Anne setting off from the parsonage on a bright summer's day with a parasol held above her head, and rather wonderfully, a parasol even makes an appearance in one of the very few surviving letters written by Anne Bronte. On the 4th of October 1847, Anne wrote to the sisters' great friend Ellen Nussey. Ellen had apparently discovered a parasol at Brookroyd and believed that Charlotte might have left it behind. Anne was able to clear up the mystery. "You are quite mistaken about her parasol," she wrote. Charlotte insisted that she had brought hers home, and Anne could confirm this because she had actually seen it in Charlotte's possession the day before. Anne suggested that Ellen's mystery parasol might instead have been left by Miss Ringrose. I love this letter because it is so wonderfully ordinary. We tend to think of the Brontes through their extraordinary novels, their short and often tragic lives, and the well-trodden mythology which subsequently grew around them. But here they are in a scintillating mundanity, trying to work out who left a parasol behind after a visit. So the Brontes experienced the same oppressive hot summer days that we do, although perhaps not in the relentless oppression afflicting us all now. What did they do? They sought shade, they carried fans and parasols, they wore silk, they walked on the moors and enjoyed the breeze. But there is one important cooling luxury available to today's summer visitor to Haworth, which Charlotte, Emily and Anne could never have imagined: an ice cream van. What do you think of the Bronte methods of keeping cool? Will parasols come back into fashion? Tell me below, and subscribe and like, share it with your friends and family, and come back here for much more. We're going to have lots more videos here on Scorching Hot House of Bronte.